All right. LEC is a 501. First, I'm going to do some housekeeping stuff and then we'll get started. The LEC is a 501c6 organization that was created to provide support and resources for the events industry, as well as lobby on behalf of our industry during this trying time. This session, as all of our webinars, are recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel after this call. While we wait for our folks to join this call, I wanted to go over a few small disclaimers before we get started. So please be kind and understanding to others. We will not allow anything less than kindness on these calls. Please avoid any self or company promotion to coalition on the coalition webinars. We are a nonpartisan organization, and we ask that you respect that in all opinions, even if you disagree with the subjects that we're covering today. Please continue to support each other and our industry through this tough time. We need each other now more than ever. While the coalition members are trying to share as much information as possible today, situations and information change from day to day, so keeping up can be challenging, and we appreciate your patience. We're going to be sharing the most relevant real-time information that we can. It is the policy of the Live Events Coalition to comply with all aspects of state and federal antitrust laws. Discussion of any matters relating to competition among our attendees or relating to practices that may restrain trade with third parties is not permitted. These prohibited subjects include prices, allocating territories, boycotts, or any other statements that may be construed as anti-competitive. And finally, please note that while coalition members may offer ideas and advice, we are not legal or financial experts. Our panelists may be experts. However, the information shared may be different from your unique situation, and we advise you to reach out to your own lawyer, CPA, accountant, banker, etc., for expert opinions and advice. We are sharing the most relevant information that we can today during our call. So I'm going to start with turning it over to our president, Nancy Shaffer, for an announcement from her.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I hope you're having a great day. I hope since last we spoke, you're as busy can be, since many locations have opened, and that's really exciting. We know there are challenges associated with that. And so I guess what I want to assure you of is that even if we're open, the LEC has not in any way, shape, or form stopped pursuing what our mission is, and that continues to be advocating on our behalf and providing resources and support for our industry. And, you know, learning more and more about now, what are some of the new challenges that we're all incurring? And what we're hearing on a regular basis is product, supplies, and staffing. So we are here, we remain committed, working day in and day out to ensure that all of our efforts for the last 15 months are not for naught, and that the journey continues. LEC is here to stay and here to be the voice. I thank you. I greatly appreciate all of you, and I really do hope that you're all really busy, but I also hope that you're taking care of yourselves. We can't make up for a loss of 15 months in 2 weeks, or you will kill yourselves, and I don't want any of that to happen. I want you to have energy, and I want you to be able to, in whatever vertical you are, do the best job that you can to continue to elevate our profession. This is the opportunity as we go back to make sure that while we are going to be invisible again, our clients know how important we are, the world knows how important we are, and we are supportive of one another. So without further ado, I think those are really my updates for the moment. And I want to, again, thank you for your ongoing support and looking forward to a good conversation today. Thanks so much. Andy?
Thanks, Nancy. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dwayne Thomas, our Director of Government Affairs, to give you an update on what's happening on the Hill.
Greetings, everybody. Hello. I'm looking down the list of participants and seeing a lot of new names, and then some that I see a lot on this webinar and in other meetings. So I will try to make this a mixture of both the general information to bring everybody along to the idea of what we're working on in GA, and also not drag the folks who've heard us say this a million times down the rabbit hole one more time. The truth about government work, government advocacy work, is that there is a lot of rabbit hole, and that it does change constantly. You get done with 1 week's work, sure that you know what direction it's going, and you start over on Monday and you find out, oh man, this is not at all going in the direction we thought it was going to go. Now we need to retool. I can tell you, we have retooled so many times since the beginning of January. After we got the last bit done, our thing was to get, of course, unemployment extended and another round of PPP. We were successful at that. And now it's work into the recovery phase. And boy, we have a new president, and it looks like he is going to have control of the Senate and the Congress for the most part, Senate and the House for the most part. And while that's true, what we found out right away is, instead of just being able to dial up relief whenever we decided to press that button, we had a couple of problems. And the biggest is the one that we knew we had all along. We just didn't know how deep it went. And that's just the relative unknownness of us as an industry. I don't think anybody doesn't get that there's caterers, and that or there's florists, or there's decorators, or that there's rental companies or AV companies. I don't think anybody doesn't get that. What I think didn't exist is the sense that it was all one sort of unit. And as a result, a lot of the last almost 6 months now have been more of just explaining what we are as an industry and how you missed us with all of the other plans. So that's been our number one challenge, and why we haven't landed the plane yet where we want it to go. The number two thing is this is one of the most unique situations our government has ever seen in terms of where we are in Congress. We've got two sides battling each other. This is not unknown to all of you, I'm sure. If you ever turn on the TV or look at your Twitter feed, it's hard to not know how the two sides are divided, and they refuse to vote with each other. Any attempt to do a bipartisan thing is just dying an awful death right now. And because the thing that we need and have been working on the most right now, which is a grant program, not unlike restaurants or SVOG, for the rest of us, the reason why we can't just press the button and get it done is that we will need 60 votes in the Senate, and we just won't get that. Because our side, the Republican side, is always going to say no to any more spending money, especially if a Democrat wants it. And I'm not taking a partisan choice here. I'm simply saying that is the playing field we're on right now. That leaves us with a little process called reconciliation. If we can get a bill built for us, it would have to tuck in there. I can candidly tell you that is not going to happen until the fall. They might start the process in August. It gets voted through sometime in September, October. The money flows hopefully by the end of the year. So I know this is not great news. And I actually really struggled with whether to even bring this up today in my report to you guys, because it is something you walk away going, well, shit, what was this all about? Holy crap, all this time. So real quick, I'll just express, and I think I talked about this last time, after meeting with my own representative here in Oregon from the House, Earl Blumenauer, a couple of weeks ago. He spent 45 minutes talking to me about how he's the guy that built, and my dog's going insane, so do please enjoy that. He's the guy that built the restaurants program, and he started on it last May. And he said, this is a 102-year-old lobby they have, and they are Main Street. Everybody knows who they are. And it still took me almost a year before any money flowed. So he described us as having to look at this as a longer term problem to get our industry back to healthy again. I wish I could tell you much better news than this. I want to tell you that the grant program we're working on is not dead. It simply does not have a vehicle to move it through the complete log jam that is Congress right now. And we're not walking away and making this report on things that we've sized up ourselves. we have sized this up ourselves, but our lobbyists are also telling us this, and they're the experts. They're the ones that take everything we hear, everything we strategize, and they run it through their little ringer and say, okay, here's a better way to do this, or here's what you just heard means. This guy told you this and this and this, and here's what he meant by that. And what we're hearing now is that neither of them have ever seen the Capitol building more jammed with absolutely nothing can move. It is not just us who can't get something done right now. Far from it. Remember, our lobbyists have several clients. So we hear what other industries are working on and what they can and can't get done. And no one can get a measure taken up right now. Part of that is the president has a very well-baked strategy of what he wants to do legislatively with his office while he's in office. And because he's the same party as congressional leaders, they're just going, all right, let's start ticking all his boxes. Well, his boxes don't have us in it. So that means we're trying to stand up something that's separate from that. Now, all of this to say, we have not given up. We are still beating the drum. Everyone's telling us, don't stop beating the drum, including the people who we talk to say, I agree, this is important. You guys are really screwed here, but there's no way I can get this done. Even those guys say, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing some of the best advocacy we've seen. Or I'll say to a guy will say, well, have you talked to anybody else in small business? I said, have we talked to anybody? We've talked to all but 4 of them. There's 48 of them, and we've talked to all but 4. And he's like, wow, you guys are busy. So I want to tell you, we are being told that we're doing it right. Remember, Wendy and Chris and I, everybody you see here in front of you on camera, we're business owners like you. We did not know what we were doing a year ago. Maybe we still don't to the greatest degree, but I want to tell you that this is a thing where we knew we had to take a shot. We're still taking that shot. If it happens, it's going to be a while. So I want to talk about this though. When the one thing that the SBA had in their quiver as an arrow for this pandemic was the EIDL program, the disaster loan program. That's existed for a long time. And usually it was used for people who got knocked out by a hurricane or a fire or whatever. Well, it got employed for this problem, first time ever, and in a much bigger way than they'd ever managed. So as much as you complain about how long it take the EIDL thing to happen, all these problems, and by the way, it didn't help that they decided to name this grant program also EIDL, which has nothing to do with a disaster loan. So people get confused about which is which. If you borrowed money through the EIDL program, that's the cheapest money you can get like that, period. So it's a net positive thing, and it was available. They had it ready to pull out, and they started shooting bullets with it clear back last April. That is because it already existed. Many of you have figured out where I'm going with this. We need to invent things like this, more programs like this that are ready to roll the next time there's a problem, maybe even at the end of this problem that we're in now. But if someone hadn't said, hey, let's make this disaster loan program, and as long as a state has called the state a disaster area, then people may apply for it who fit whatever the restrictions are. They had to have their whole storefront knocked out by a hurricane or whatever it was. If that wasn't there, we wouldn't have had that to get. Yes, it's a loan. Yes, we deserve a grant. Congress cannot make us whole. Let's get over that. But they have to give us a shot at bringing our industry back, and things like EIDL are net helpful. So we are working with one important senator right now. I'm not going to name names because it's too young in its process. If we get anywhere with it, great. But we candidly think that this member of Congress has some bargaining chips, shall we say. And one of the senator's issues is that they are working on pandemic insurance reform, business loss insurance reform. There is an actual path for this. It's going to be a government and industry partnership between the insurance industry, so that the next time this happens, we have the option of having pandemic business interruption insurance. So we're going to trade being helpful with that for the favors that this senator can get on the floor, because this senator has some chips in their hands. In exchange, the senator helps us work out a way to get this relief program going. So that is our best shot right now. We're working really hard on it. This senator is also bouncing around the idea of partial EIDL forgiveness. So that is another thing we have in mind. We have some tax break issues we're going to bring up, and I know that's cold comfort right now because none of us really owe any taxes because we had a terrible year, but it will matter to us down the road. So in addition to continuing to fight for this relief program, we are also fighting for the next things, gearing up to have those conversations at the same time. I don't want to go any further down the rabbit hole than that. I'm always, happy to take questions if there are any.
Thanks, Dwayne. Yeah, there was, if you can maybe elaborate on the EIDL loans potentially being forgiven, is that a potential path to helping our industry as well?
Senator Cardin, who's the chairman of the Senate Small Business Committee, did say that it was discussed in January and February. It didn't move because it didn't get any consensus, but the idea is out there. I think what that problem is going to take is industries, coalitions like us. Say hello to Juniper, everybody. There she is. Industry coalitions like ours are going to have to get motivated and active on that to make it happen. If we are truly at a moment, and I think we may be, where we know that we're going to do three things. We're going to continue to tell our story. We're going to continue to ask for relief. And the third thing is we say, what about all these loans we've taken on? How about taking this up? And we get other industries like we are partnering with the Economic Bridge Coalition to say the same thing at the same time. Then yes, I think there could be a shot. It's going to be a heavy lift. It's going to be just as heavy a lift as the one we're making now. But again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So thanks for the question. It doesn't have traction, but it has been mentioned. And we didn't bring it up. It was told to us that had been discussed.
Got it. There's a question from Hyacinth. Should Hyacinth keep pushing the petition for ARP here in Texas? If so, to all of Congress, what about big city mayors, etc.?
Yes, and no on Congress. If you happen to have a relationship with your or someone you know's House representative, congressperson, they may have a relationship with your state house in some way, shape, or form, because they probably came up through the state house before they took federal office. So I have heard of situations where your congressperson will make a few phone calls for you and say, hey, what are you doing here? We sent you all this money. Why aren't you helping these live events industry people? So that is a question worth asking if you have any kind of relationship with your rep at all. Senators tend to not want to do that exact thing. I don't know why, but you can always ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. On the flip side of it, everybody should be running a state program trying to get some of that money. It's what it was intended for. And we are hearing from members of Congress that we talk to all that time. It's like, well, can't you get a state program going? Of course, we say, well, now we need 50 lobbying efforts. So, well, we need 50 lobbying efforts. I know of about 8 or 10 of them that are going right now as a direct result of this committee saying, you guys, this money is available to us. We can't do it for you. You're going to have to start with a petition, get it being discussed, all of this stuff. So Hyacinth, absolutely do not let go of that. Keep your fists around that particular neck. And we're hearing that it's successful some places, hasn't yet been successful other places, and other places are just in the dark. It is really hard to tap into your state legislator and know what they're doing. These are usually day players. They usually have a job on top of being a legislator. So take that with a grain of salt, but dog it. Send them more information. Now, by the way, I sent all the state government affairs leaders just yesterday some pointers about how important ARP is and a few resources. So hopefully you guys all got that if you're GA leadership in your state.
Last question here from Debbie. She says, should we write congressmen and women ourselves? Would that help? If so, will someone please provide me the names of the committee members?
Sure. So a couple of things. If you will, Andy, how do you want us to do this? I would have to, there's a couple ways to do this. You can Google
Debbie,
Small Business Committee.
Yeah, we would need to know what state you're in, Debbie, just to make sure that you're coordinating with. Hyacinth says she can help you, but or you could post in the chat what state you're with, because we definitely want the state efforts to be cohesive and not kind of like sporadic and hearing from multiple sources. So as long as you're coordinating with your state organization, that's usually the best way to do that. So it looks like you guys are going to be able to.
Sounds like Debbie and Hyacinth are going to chat. So the short answer is all outreach by way of, hey, I'm a small business owner. Hey, I've heard that, the Live Events Coalition is working on XYZ. I just want to throw in my support for it. I'm one of those people that they're talking about. That's always net positive. So never not do that. I'll give you an example. Here in Oregon, we are doing a state campaign to try to get some of that ARP funding. We're asking for an $108 million grant program. We wrote the entire legislative outline. We've already testified at a subcommittee hearing about it and basically pushing the importance of it. We've done a petition with multiple signers. We've sent them 3 pages of business case studies. We keep finding reasons to re-email our legislators and our senators in order to keep the conversation going, and our governor, by the way. We managed to get on the governor's wish list as one of the measures she hopes the money goes to, and she recommended to the legislature that they do this. It's all been by noise. Find an excuse to email them one more time. At least your Speaker of the House and your Senate President and your governor, at least those folks, and then some key committee chair people. You're going to have to drill down. You're going to have to read about how your state government works. I cannot tell you that because it's different in every state. But find who leadership is and who is going to have this conversation and be frigging noisy. I just asked for all of our members in the state coalition I said, can I get 50 people to take 6 minutes, click this website, and you enter your zip code, and then we'll tell you who your representative is and who your senator is and what their phone number is. You call them, you're going to get voicemail. Here's what to say. Do things like that. Those things are all on the grassroots level. They're very, very helpful. Federal level, not quite as much, but on the state level, that can be very helpful. By the way, this ARP money coming from your states is your one best shot at getting a check soon. So don't not do this.
Thanks, Dwayne. All right, now I'll hand it over to Tyler with a marketing and communications update from LEC.
Hello, everyone. So the Marcom, I started with the Live Events Coalition, I think just over a month ago now. And the team that I'm working with has been hard at work. My goals since I started are to clearly define what everyone's doing and basically trying to set up a long-term strategy for the Live Events Coalition as everyone's getting busier and businesses are starting to open back up and we're going back to normal, which is kind of the new normal. One thing that we've been doing is dialing in our key messaging as we're actually communicating to members and people in the industry, in the live events industry, but we're also basically raising awareness to the general public. And one phrase that we keep saying internally is that we've always been the people behind the curtain. So now it's time for us to actually step out from behind the curtain and let people know who we are and what we do and why we're important and what won't be possible without us. Part of the key messaging is really understanding where we are as an industry. And we kind of have that as a 3-tiered approach in relief, recovery, and rebuilding. And as Dwayne put it, we're still in the relief phase because we haven't gotten any relief. Simple as that. And another thing that Dwayne said that really stuck with me is after the 2008 recession, if a group had come together to form something like the Live Events Coalition, this is maybe something we could have avoided. So it's our duty, we're duty bound to build something for the next major industry setback. We are currently working on launching a new website, which is hosted on Star Chapter, which is a membership organization CRM, and it will integrate with our marketing materials and has some built-in marketing tools, as well as a lot of benefits for Live Events Coalition members. We're also looking at ways to add value to members in addition to all of the connections and data that you receive. we're trying to help promote and raise awareness and the general awareness of members through our website, our newsletter, and our social media efforts. Part of that is working closer with state coalitions, removing the silos between the Marcom team and government affairs, and we've done that by actually having a Marcom member start sitting in on the government affairs calls to really help identify what the priorities are in our messaging. And again, our team has been really hard at work. We're going to keep working hard and set something that's going to last long term. Happy to be part of the Live Events Coalition team. Grateful for everyone on my team that's put in the hard work outside of their regular day-to-day. And I'm feeling very excited and optimistic about the future.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tyler. Super excited for everything we've got going on. That new website's really going to be beneficial to us, I think. So lastly, Nancy has, or let me ask this first. Does anyone have any questions or comments or concerns about anything LEC related, government affairs related that we didn't cover yet? I'll give you a few seconds to post that sort of thing if anyone has any. If not, Nancy's going to give us an update on a meeting we recently had with the CDC and go from there. Go ahead, Nancy. I'll let you know if there's any questions in the meantime.
Great. So first off, I want to welcome Tyler to the team. It's wonderful to have him. And I kind of want to piggyback a little bit on some of what he said in terms of if there's something that you would like us to start to cover, please let us know. We're working from what we think you want, but if there are other topics that you would like us to identify and cover in the newsletter, just let us know. From that, only because Dwayne did meet Archie, because Dwayne's dog can't have all of the coverage, and I'm now putting him back to sleep on my lap. But some very, very wonderful news happened today. We have been working very hard to get a call with CDC. And today that call happened. And Andy, Jody Katzman, and myself were on that call. I'm not sure I knew what to expect or what I wanted to come out of that call, but what did come out of that call, which is absolutely remarkable, is that we now have developed a relationship and a partnership with CDC so that as they start to redraft their policies and procedures, they understand what our industry is and why we are unique. Jody, who leads our safety and risk assurance committee, is going to speak directly to their, what is her title? She's the unit lead at CDC to begin to make sure we have the information we need. They agree with the information that we're going to share with you guys in terms of what good practices are, and to be able to have this open-ended conversation with the organization that is looking at all of this scientifically and has information that we don't, is absolutely amazing. So while Dwayne's news may not have been great, I want to make sure that you guys understand that we're constantly reaching out and trying to work with other organizations to make sure that we are providing you, all of you, with resources that you need and support. So it was an exciting call. It was a successful call. And I'm really looking forward to what moves ahead as Jody and Mary, which is her name, begin to have some conversations over what's the best practices that we can share with all of you as we move forward in this new open world. So thank you for that moment. Thank you for letting me share Archie, who keeps me up at night. And I really do hope that everybody's doing well. That's it, Andy. Unless anybody has questions, because I'm happy to answer those questions.
I think there's one final question, Dwayne, if you want to address Jay's question. Or is it
Here's
easier?
his typing.
Jay, I'm typing you an answer right now. So hang in there.
All right. Awesome. Unless there's anything else, I think that's all we have for today. So thank you for attending the webinar today. This again will be posted on YouTube and be recorded. And thank you for everyone for attending. Our next webinar will be in a month from now. Not sure the exact date of that. I'll make sure that everyone gets an email invite to that. But thank you all for your involvement and have a great weekend. Thank you for attending.
Bye, everybody.